So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how you can leverage Twitter to get your employer brand out there and to recruit candidates. So first of all, I'd like to apologise if anyone was expecting this Naomi Campbell, because quite often I come into a room and people are like, you're not the one that I thought was going to be here. So this is me. So my @handle is @Naomi1, and feel free to tweet me or follow me on Twitter and ask me any questions afterwards. So I suppose from my perspective, I'm the recruitment lead in Twitter. So I work with a lot of recruitment agencies who are looking to build their presence on Twitter, and I suppose just get their content out there to a wider and more relevant audience and really just amplify their message. So I think that there's definitely some challenges out there just from speaking to different clients. Definitely there is a shift, and I think it's been really, really prevalent over the last few years towards this term of social recruiting. I think it's obvious now that candidates are searching for jobs in different ways, and I think that you guys as recruiters need to start looking at different ways to attract this talent and to interact with them and connect with them. Because up to now the traditional methods may have been working, but the shift has definitely started happening. So it's time to start future-proofing, I suppose, and looking towards alternative ways of doing things. So the things that I'm going to talk about today are social recruiting and how things are changing, how to use Twitter to reach the right talent in the moment, and also look at some success on Twitter. So I suppose just a few stats that probably won't shock you too much, but just to kind of start off by saying that, we're seeing such a big shift towards mobile, and Twitter at its inception, it was actually originally devised to be a mobile first platform. It was going to be an SMS platform, and then it sort of grew legs and turned into what it is today, and that's why we still have 140 characters in our tweets. So it's very conversational. The content is supposed to be short and snappy and grab attention. But 80% of our users access Twitter via mobile. So it's just indicative of user behavior and how users are using their phone now. Information's at our fingertips. We want things faster. We want to find easier and more convenient ways of doing everyday tasks. And why should applying for a job be any different? So these probably won't shock you too much, but 40% of all job views are to come from mobile in the next 6 months. 62% of job seekers are using mobile in their job search. 55% of job seekers cite convenience as the core driver for a mobile job search, and 66% of individuals would apply for a job on a mobile if the process was simplified. So what are we doing to help these people? What are we doing to get their information in that moment while you're top of mind for them? Are we doing enough to capture the information in real time? Another couple of interesting stats. So 56% of professionals consider a company's reputation as a great place to work, and that's top of mind for them when applying for a job. So at the end of the day, it's very simple. People want to be happy. Are they going to be happy at your company? What are you doing to sort of show them that you're a great place to work? I mean, what's happening in the Deutsche Bank office on a Tuesday that might not be happening anywhere else? Are you using rich media images and short video snippets to kind of show people what a fun organisation you are, or why they would want to work for you? Also, another stat that demonstrates the shift is that 93% of CEOs say that they're actively changing their talent strategy, or they know that they need to. So I think that these stats really reinforce this shift. And even if we look at what the media is saying, so there's been multiple articles from Forbes to Mashable to Entrepreneur to TechCrunch that people are using Twitter now more and more as a recruitment tool and not just as a consumer tool. So there are many, many uses, but it's really what you make of it and the investment and time that you put into it. So this just gives you an indication. So this has been pulled from a third-party data reporter called Topsy, and it just monitors the conversation that's happening on Twitter. And you can see here that there's huge volumes of conversation happening all the time around job search and new job. Every one of these conversations is an opportunity for you to connect. So silence is not an option anymore. These people are out there, they're talking about your brand, they're talking about your business. This is happening anyway. So if you're not out there to take part of that conversation, then essentially you're missing out on an opportunity. So I suppose we've talked a lot about the different challenges in the recruitment sphere, but the way that I see it from the clients that I've had interaction with is that the main challenges are still reaching talent, connecting with that talent, and hiring talent. So how can Twitter help you to do this? So I suppose just to kind of start off and take a bit of a bird's eye look at Twitter. So it's live, it's public, and it's conversational. So even just to go back to Ben showing us Felix jumping from space, things like that are playing out now on Twitter before anywhere else. The plane lands in the Hudson River, even the cabinet reshuffle here in the UK. All these things are playing out live on Twitter right now. It's very, very real time, and that presents a great opportunity for you to have your finger on the pulse. So it's public, and that means that there's no barriers to entry. You can search a hashtag and see the volume of conversation. You can type job search into Twitter and see who's talking about the job search. It's very public, and it means that you can very naturally involve yourself in the conversation. So Twitter is very conversational. So bear in mind that this gives you an opportunity as a brand to have a more human tone of voice and connect with people as a person and not necessarily a big kind of scary logo. People are human. They want to know that the brand that they might potentially, or the business they might potentially work for, are human too. So just to look at some of the stats. So at the moment on the platform, we have 284 million active users globally. So that number in the UK is 15 million. So the UK is one of our strongest markets in the whole world on Twitter. So there's a huge amount of people having conversations, connecting with people. What we tend to say is that Twitter is what connects you to what interests you most. And that's what people are doing. They're connecting with things that are interesting, they're reading about things that are interesting to them, and they're sharing that content. So there are 1 billion tweets sent every 2 days. So this represents both an opportunity and a challenge. The opportunity is that we know that these conversations are happening, but how do we rise above the noise? How do we make sure that our message is heard? And that's where running some promoted content can really help. So I already mentioned this, but 80% of UK users access Twitter via mobile. This is just huge. And I think the point to make here as well is to make sure that your content is mobile optimized. So I think, as Katrina alluded to earlier, trying to apply for a job at the moment on your company's website, how easy is that? Probably maybe 8 times out of 10, it's not that easy. So what are we doing to kind of try and change that? So I suppose just looking at the different stages from the candidate's perspective of the job search. So I think as recruiters, a big challenge is getting through to those passive candidates. They're not actually really looking for a change. They might be interested in applying if something interesting comes along, but they're not really actively searching. So how are we getting in front of these people? So this is at the discovery stage of the kind of the funnel and the different stages of the job search. So in the discovery phase, I suppose when you look at Twitter, when people log on to Twitter, they're in more of a discovery frame of mind than say when they might log on to LinkedIn or Facebook. They're open to hearing about new things, seeing new things, reading new things, and sharing that content. So what are you doing to leverage that fact and get in front of these people while they're in that kind of open state of mind? So if I just click on, I'll just show you an example here. So job site. So they're actually very innovative on Twitter. And this tweet had really high engagements, and it was around the time people were petitioning to have Piers Morgan kicked out of the US or something like that. So we'll do our best to help anyone find a new job, with one exception. So very funny, very humorous, and received really high engagement on Twitter. So then we also have another example from JobSite. They're running a campaign where they're trying to contact and get in touch with millennials, so people who are maybe not long into the workforce. And they thought, well, what is the best way to do this? So they decided to use TV conversation targeting to target users who were watching Celebrity Big Brother, because they knew that would be their target audience. So they used a bit of humour and some kind of funny slogans, and they did get in touch with that right audience and connect with that audience in the moment. So kind of the next stage of the funnel is probably the research piece. So, when somebody actually is looking for a job actively, what resources are you providing for them? What kind of thought leadership content could you be putting out there that they can then share and reuse? So this is an example from Monster. Oftentimes people find it difficult to network. This is a guide to networking, job site, some interview tips. So just small little things that are snackable, but they're very, very useful to a potential job seeker. So then when we go to actually the stage of the funnel, which is the application process, how are we making it easier for people to actually apply for the job? This is an example of a lead generation card. And what Reed have done is they've actually used the lead generation card targeting recruiters to sign up and find out about some candidate recommendations. But what you could do is use the lead generation card and contact candidates. So basically you'd be using the targeting capabilities to get in front of the correct audience for you. and just asking them to submit their email address. So all they need to do is click find out more, or click here, or submit your email address, and you've captured their email address, and then you can then remarket to them at a later date. So I suppose the bottom line here is that a lot of people are a little bit scared of Twitter, a little bit, worried about they want to dip their toe in the water, but they're not quite sure how. But the old rules of marketing still do apply. So right audience, right content, right moment. So, really, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It does fit in nicely with your marketing ecosystem. There's no need to create a whole bunch of new content. I'm sure you already have very successful campaigns on other platforms. So just reuse that content. It works in very well with other social media platforms, as well as other above and below the line methods. So I just wanted to talk really quickly about a success story on Twitter, because I'm probably running a little bit over time now. So Flevy, essentially, they are a marketplace for putting out premium business documents. So the objective of their campaign was to get people to increase awareness of their brand, and to get people to download their documents, and also they wanted to capture leads. So they took a three-pronged approach here, and what they did was they used promoted tweets to target their tailored message to a specific niche audience, and in this instance they were looking to target people in the consulting space. So they targeted the followers of influential kind of consulting people in that sphere, and they also targeted people who might be following certain publications, and in that way they got their message in front of the right people. They also used the Twitter website card to drive website traffic straight through to their website to download the content that they had available. And they also used the lead generation card to capture email addresses so that they could remarket to people. The results were that they acquired 1,200 new leads. They saw the highest return of investment out of all their channels, and also they were using Twitter's conversion tracking capabilities to make sure that they're actually able to tie in the website visits with subsequent purchases. So it is definitely very, very measurable. And yeah, that was just one that I wanted to bring to your attention, because I think that it's very relevant for the recruitment space. You might have kind of white papers and downloads that you want to direct people to. Also, I think the lead generation card is great for capturing intent in the moment. So someone might not have the time while they're on their commute to actually apply for a job, but they've signaled their intent to you. They've given you their email address, and that can give you an opportunity in the future. And that's everything. So @Naomi1, and that's my email address for any questions afterwards.